Hello everyone. So today I thought I'll probably talk about how to create a roadmap in org mode, and I thought I'll probably share how I do it. And I believe I have shared this in the past, but I of course wanted to share it again because this is something that many people might want to do, or they just need maybe some kind of guidance when they are probably moving to org mode, or maybe if they're thinking of using org mode. In case you don't know, org mode is nothing but a text based it is a system where everything is nothing but a text file. So you basically have files, and when you have files you can of course use some special things like different you can basically create different levels of headers, and you can associate dates with those items, and you can have nested items. In a way, it is not really, it is a nested item. Basically, right now, of course, this is my header number one. Now, this could be my, top level item. And then, of course, I can have different things underneath. Now, if you're talking about a plan, usually, or I should probably, share what I do for planning my work, for planning things that I need to do. I usually start with a file. I have a file on my org mode called under my org mode agenda called goals.org, and usually in my goals.org file I have nothing but my goals, and I try to organize my goals mostly into three categories. So number one is basically my short-term goals, right? So this is something that I want to do maybe immediately in the next few months, short-term goals. And then of course, as the name suggests, I will of course have medium-term goals and long-term goals. So of course I'm talking about goals here, but this could be, let us say, some kind of thing that you want to achieve. Maybe let us say you're talking about a project, right? Maybe you want to launch let us say Android app, or not just Android app, but maybe you want to launch or let me give you a proper corporate example. So let us say you have one initiative. Because I work with organizations and they use the term initiative, which is basically for the higher management. Let us say one of the initiative is that we want to capture the UK food delivery market, right? So this is of course your high level initiative, and of course I'm just trying to give you these examples. But as I mentioned in my previous videos, org mode is something that you would use for your own personal task management. But I hope this idea is probably good. Now, when you are trying to start with, let us say, some goals or something like this, where I'm trying to capture the UK market, I may have some short-term goals, some medium-term goals, and some long-term goals. Now, these short-term goals could be, let us say you want to launch Android app, right? Let us say you also want to launch iOS app, and let us say you want to launch website, right? Now, when I start with these items, what I do, I associate dates with them. And the way I do it, in org mode there are shortcuts, but you don't have to use shortcuts, or you don't have to learn shortcuts, because things are so convenient. It is nothing but a text-based file. So if you know how to use the right shortcut, you're fine. But to associate this with a date, it could be a deadline. Let us say your deadline is something like April. Sometime in April, you can actually select a date. And as you can see, this is something that I did using Control-C, Control-D, but you can also do it yourself like this. You can type here deadline, and for inserting a date, you can of course do it like this, like manually, or you can use Control-C dot, and then you can select a date sometime in future, sometime maybe in May, and so on. So this is my deadline, and for my three goals, I will basically select multiple dates. And the moment you start associating your dates with your headers, these can do other magical things, like these will appear somewhere in your agenda, or maybe if you want them to appear somewhere, you can. And in this video, I thought I'll probably also give you, there are a lot of videos on org mode fundamentals, but I just wanted to give you like a real world example, like how I use it. Now, when you have different goals, like, launch Android app, you may want to, of course, break it up. This is, of course, a deadline, like, like a vision that I have, that I want to do this today or tomorrow, but I definitely need to finish it by that particular date. And apart from deadline, which is like a milestone, I guess, in a way, you can also associate or tell yourself that you should start the work today and do it maybe for the next 5 days. So there is also something called as scheduled. So let us say you want to start the work tomorrow. You can do that, and there is again one keyword inserted called scheduled. And when you do schedule, you may want to tell yourself that this has to be done every day. Maybe you can do that by adding this +1D. So basically, every day this activity is scheduled to happen. And when you do this, you can also tell that you want to do it maybe from 9 a.m. to maybe 11 a.m. And when you of course do these things, and you of course start tracking the work. And by the way, one thing which I missed is that I can also tell org mode that this particular item is a to-do item if we are at that level. Of course, I'm just talking about high level. Usually to-do items will come at the lower levels, but it is just a matter of using this to-do tag in the beginning. Now what will happen is, the moment I start working on the items, for example, tomorrow I will do this work, I will change it to done. And the moment I do it, there is an entry in the prop, like there is a log that, okay, you did something on this particular date, and so on. So every day you are basically telling yourself, or basically you're marking that you have done some work. But this is of course the high level work. You would probably want to break it up, and you can do that by inserting one more level, and it is just a matter of adding like one level below it. And you can do that with the help of some shortcuts, or you can do that with the help of asterisks in the front. I mean, those asterisks are not entirely visible here because I'm using one mode, but there is an asterisk in the front. So it is just a matter of number of asterisks you use. And I don't really recommend going more than 3 or 4 levels. I think 3-4 levels is probably fine, but I guess you're basically going to make yourself make your plan a bit more complicated if you go too deep. But a couple of levels is, I think, good enough. Now, let us say to achieve your first goal, you need to do 3 things. So let us say you want to do your task number 1, task number 2, and task number 3. And this is what I do, of course, by breaking up my goal into smaller items. But at the same time, to assist myself when I'm making a plan, I try to insert some percentages, or maybe in some cases, a way to know whether this particular item is done or not, or how many items are done out of total. So if you want, you can also do that by inserting percentage and number of items that you are planning, and so on. For example, for my Android task, for my Android app launch, I can track the progress, which is maybe 75%, or how many items are done. Now, if you look at it, it is of course not really going to. It is not really working as like a proper Gantt chart. If you're familiar with Gantt chart, basically in Gantt charts you can make a plan, and then you can have dependencies, and those dependencies based on the dates that you stretch, or maybe if one task is dependent on another task, things can move the overall plan, or the dates, the earliest start date, or the late, or the there are dates, right? Start date and end date, like earliest date, and also what is the other one? The end date will of course change if you add more items in your Android app launch high level goal, or whatever activity that you're trying to perform. So basically the way org mode will work, and can work wonderfully if you are doing it for your own personal task management, is you have the option to basically start with a high level goal and then break it up. And this is not really going to roll up everything. I mean, of course, it is now showing you the progress, but the date here, schedule date or the deadline date, is not really going to change on its own if you add more items, or if you have maybe multiple things that you want to do. Now, that is why, of course, org mode is supposed to be, I guess, for personal task management. But I think we all have personal tasks, we all have goals, and this is what I do. And it is in a way, I mean, there are, I'm sure if you search online, that you will probably find a couple of blogs where people have shared how to export it in a format that can be also converted to a roadmap, some kind of roadmap, because you have dates. And I'm sure you will also, maybe you can also search for a couple of posts online. I mean, if you search Google, if you search on Google, you'll find people have also synced their agenda with their Google calendars. And I actually tried doing it. In fact, I've done it manually as well. I mean, long back, I made one macro where the dates were actually updating the calendar on Google. And Google Calendar, I mean, Google has the Google APIs and Google Calendar APIs, and it works really well. But it was a bit too much. I prefer keeping things simple. I prefer keeping things which is offline. And syncing is of course fine, but I think for own personal task management, you don't really want to get into too much trouble of basically syncing and making sure that your plan is reflected everywhere else on all the devices. I'm happy with my current org file with nothing but a simple text-based file, which I can control and I can manage. So this is what I do. It is not entirely like a proper Gantt chart, but it is in a way a roadmap for me. For example, if I'm looking at my goal, or basically if I go open my agenda file, I can actually look at my specific to-do items, and you can do also a lot of wonderful things here. For example, you can also associate your items, your subtrees, headers with some tags or keywords, and these tags can be also used for searching, and you can also filter based on these tags if you want. So that is all I wanted to talk about and share in this video. It is not really exactly a proper introduction to org mode, but it was more of a use case, like how you can also use org mode to keep track of your goals, or maybe some kind of a mini project where maybe you have some plans. I mean, if you follow my channel, I'm sure you know that I do everything in org mode, especially when it comes to task management. And I think I'm a bit ambitious person. I do a lot of things. In fact, I do too many things, and it can be a bit overwhelming to keep track of those multiple things that I have to plan. And org mode is fast, it is quick, it is offline, although it can be online as well. I mean, you can sync it with your, I mean, this is of course, I mean, no, it is not really, that is not true. It is not really offline, it is synced to my Dropbox, but which I'm trying to get away with. I mean, it's not really a big deal. I can obviously move it to SyncThing because I use SyncThing, but I'm lazy. But it is actually on Dropbox. So if I open my Mac and if I want to sync my org files, my Emacs on the other computer will pick it up, even on Mac. And the way I start my Emacs is I use a script to start my Emacs, so that I set my custom home directory. And that way my Emacs is a bit portable. And I made a couple of videos on that topic, how to make your Emacs org mode portable. So that is all. And I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new today. Thank you very much. Bye bye.